All right, good evening. I'd like to call the April 26, 2022 Finance Committee regular meeting. Would you please call roll?
Chairman Reinhardt.
Here.
Vice Chair Hoagland.
Here.
Member Streeter. Here. Member McNamee Cook. Member Bush. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, we're going to bypass some of this business, and we're going to go right to Scott with PFM Investments. Scott, can you hear us?
I can hear you just fine.
We can hear
me
you.
okay?
We can hear you fine. You're good to go.
Great. I appreciate it. And just for clarification, I know in the past you've talked to a teammate of mine. His name was also Scott. His name was Scott Sweeten. My name is Scott Stitcher. And he and I are dividing and conquering tonight. We had two meetings at the same time in different parts of the world. So he was kind enough to take on the meeting that required a little travel, and he allowed me to take the meeting to call in. So I appreciate your time. I understand there may be a new committee member. I was just going to give a 1-minute overview of PFM Asset Management. We are a firm that services or caters to institutional clients only. We're based out of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I always say we are probably one of the largest asset management firms you've never heard of. We manage approximately $177 billion, and about $130 billion of that is in discretionary money, and that is portfolios where our clients allow us to make buy and sell decisions on their part, which is what the city of St. Cloud allows us to do. So we've been in business a little over 40 years. We have over 250 investment professionals that do what I do, or at least support me in my role as a relationship manager to the city. So I hope that's helpful. I also want to confirm you should have a report in front of you from us. It should have 53 pages in it. I updated a few pages earlier in the day with the city staff. So as I refer to a page, I want to make sure you are all looking at the report that has 53 pages. If not, the other one, I have it open as well, so I can go to that and refer to that as opposed to the one with 53. So maybe if you could confirm the report that you're looking at.
Just give me a second. I have the 53-page document. Don
Perfect.
does.
I do.
All three of us have it, so you're good to go.
Excellent. So I was going to start on page 27, and that is the portfolio performance, and that is, I know, at the end of the day, really what you're most interested in seeing and hearing. Unfortunately, it's a bad time to be delivering this performance, but the markets are what they are these days. Fixed income has seen interest rates rise dramatically, not only in 2021, but they've continued to rise into the first quarter of 2022. And as you know, as interest rates rise, bond prices fall. So let me point you to the bottom of page 27, where we look at the total return in percentage terms. The portfolio we manage returned a negative 2.77% for the 3 months ending March 31st, 2022. The benchmark posted its worst quarterly performance since the benchmark has been tracked. So at over 40 years, we witnessed the worst quarterly performance for the Merrill Lynch 1 to 5 year U.S. Treasury Index. So it was down negative 3.16%. If you take out our fee, the net of fee return was a negative 2.79%. So net of fees, we outperformed the benchmark by 37 basis points, or 0.37%. Now, looking out to a year, the portfolio was down at 3.34% versus the benchmark at 3.72%. And again, backing out that fee, the net of fee return was a negative 3.42%, or 30 basis points, 0.30% of outperformance. Now, I know it's hard to get excited about outperformance when there's a negative number in front of that return, but it is something that we really hang our hats on. We really try to outperform benchmarks in up and down markets, but more so in down markets. We pride ourselves in giving up less than the markets when they are negative. We really strive to protect our clients' principal. I think it's important to note, too, that what drives what we do for you is not only state statute, Florida State Statute 218415, but the city's investment policy, which is, again, very much driven by state statute. And the state statute says that the most important thing is safety of principal, followed by liquidity, and then yield. So again, that's why we take this safety of principal and liquidity so seriously. One thing I want to note, that the fact that I mentioned interest rates went up during the quarter, which equates to bond prices falling, and actually I should say they went up during the year, last year, and which causes bond prices to fall. That's the negative. And I don't want to focus on the negative. I want to try and focus on something that's positive. And in this case, because we're in this rising rate environment, when you have a maturity or you have income or a pay down, that money is going to be reinvested at higher yields. So what you're going to see is over time, as that new money is put to work, you're going to see your yield at cost, you're going to see the income in this portfolio continue to rise. And I call that an insurance policy because that offsets any price fluctuations that can occur in the portfolio. So to better illustrate this, if you turn to page 28, we show the four most recent quarter ends. And I'm focusing on that line that says interest earned. And this just sort of confirms what I'm stating in that you're going to see your interest continue to rise in this environment. So if you go out to the second quarter of 2021, you see the income earned was about $45,000. The next quarter it went to about $54,000. In the fourth quarter of 21, $86,000. In the most recent quarter end, you earned about $270,000 in the income in the portfolio. That is a trend you'll continue to see, and in the long run, this will benefit you and the city tremendously. Right now, as I said this morning when I spoke to the staff, it's very painful right now. We know that, but you will be served by these higher yields in the long run. Let me stop there. I've thrown a lot at you in 5 minutes from a performance standpoint. Let me stop before I take us to the next slide. See if there are any questions or thoughts.
Just one observation from on that interest earned, going from our fourth quarter last year to this first quarter, tremendous increase when everything else seemed to be so negative. What contributed to that?
One thing that's been really beneficial is the city has, I'll say, dollar cost averaged into this portfolio. So over time, they've given us more money. I should say the staff has given us more money to manage. And so as interest rates have been going up, we've been able to buy securities earning more income or having higher yields than if we had put all that money to work a year ago. So that's one thing that's been very, very beneficial. And then again, as I mentioned, as we've had interest come in, or a maturity occur, again, we're able to take that money and invest it at higher yielding securities. And it's just a factor of where we are in the market today. You know, interest rates have risen just dramatically over the last 12, 15 months.
Thank you.
Does that help?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I wanted to go to page 24 and just make some additional comments here. And this is just, we call it a portfolio snapshot, but it is a good summary of what PFM does, again, on behalf of the city. We call this our core portfolio or a longer-term portfolio. And again, you can see we manage about $155 million, we'll call it $156 million for the case of this conversation. And again, all these data points are as of March 31st. Where I want to stop, though, is around the effective duration. And the duration is a measurement of the interest rate sensitivity of your portfolio. And the takeaway here is that the duration of the portfolio, we're maintaining a duration that is short of the benchmark duration. So 2.47 years versus 2.54 years. So the reason we do this is we want less interest rate sensitivity in the portfolio in a rising rate environment. So this is sort of a way to de-risk the portfolio, is to have less interest rate sensitivity relative to the benchmark. I'll also point you down to the bottom right, and it gives you a breakdown of the duration. So that number, that 2.47 years, is reflected in the blue bars. The 2.54 years is reflected in the gray bars. So again, how do we get to that 2.47 years? Well, it's broken down by maturity or duration bucket down below here. And the takeaway here is you can see we have more money allocated to the short end. So we have 15% in the 0 to 1 year space, and another 28% in the 1 to 2 year space. And why is that important? Again, back to my point earlier, where as you have maturities occur, that money is going to get put to work in higher yielding securities and will equate to higher income much quicker than if it were a longer term or longer maturity security. So again, I just want you to note that as a real benefit to the portfolio in the long term. It is a portfolio that is highly diversified. It is high quality. You'll note that the portfolio credit quality is AA. I mentioned it being diversified. It was a quarter in which diversification really didn't work, unfortunately. Every sector was negative during the quarter. But in the long run, diversification will definitely come back in favor and will benefit the portfolio. And that's one thing I want to stress too. I've mentioned the long term, and I think that it's important to not lose sight of that idea, that concept, in light of, again, what fixed income markets are doing. It is, as I mentioned earlier, very painful time to be not only in fixed income, but to be in the equity markets as well. But again, if you can think long term, and that's what these monies are earmarked for, the long term, you will benefit from remaining true to your investment discipline and staying true to what these assets are earmarked for. So let me stop again and see if there are any questions.
I don't have any, thank you.
Okay. Again, this is a very lengthy report. For me, I think the story around performance, around income, around the rising rate environment is really what I wanted to share with you today, and then again, remaining true to the long-term investment discipline and focusing on the long term being most important. Is there any place you would like me to go within the report to take a deeper dive, or?
Well, just for your knowledge, we just received this today in general.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so, I mean, unless it came in electronically, I don't know if anybody's had time to review where to dwell in deeper.
Okay.
I'm just speaking for myself. Not sure if anyone else has had time to review it. So
Okay.
I would almost ask staff if there's something that you think we should be made aware of in any of this besides what he's covered.
I don't think so, Chairman. I think that the key points that Scott has hit are pivotal. You know, in a rising rate environment, this is not a hair on fire situation. This is about being disciplined, as Scott mentioned, and we will get the returns we need to do to make this economic, you know, I don't want to call it a downturn, just a swing, but we're very well diversified right now into the set of getting out of this. But, you know, we wanted to paint it transparently where we lie. And I think Scott did a great job not to go so far deep, but just to give you that good overview to say, hey, this is where we land right now, fair and equitably, and then we'll see and monitor. We're within statute. You know, we're well
Yes,
positioned,
yes.
so that's a key factor. And Scott is one of the leaders in statute that, you know, brought us to a place where we have a very strong policy. So we're within that in compliance, nothing outside of that to report. And I think that is the best we can do right now. And so we're just going to maintain the course right now, you know.
Did we
Yeah.
talk about what's our contribution here? What are we putting, what's our share of this investment?
Sure, I'll have Scott talk about our diversity if you'd like.
Well, I just want, like, we contributing, what do we hold into this? I see the 155 or 156, but what are we putting into this?
As far
2 million, 1 million, 7 million?
209, I think, is our number right now
This,
for PFM managing, yep.
not sure if I'm on here. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
This is all of our surplus funds of all of the fund balances that the city holds. We've put in about,
209, I
I
believe.
want to say it's like 160 million that's in their total.
Okay.
But there's not really a set contribution. This is just really any surplus funds. We don't need we don't need locally for operations. So then we invest them out longer the goal is to earn a better rate of return than we could just leaving them liquid sitting in a checking account.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yep.
Okay.
Pretty much. Anybody have any other
Yeah,
questions?
and I was just going to say, I would point you also to pages 20, 21, 22, and those are a summary of
The investments.
I always call them compliance slides. We call them sector analytics or max maturity analytics, but these do outline what your policy permits, and again just supports the fact that you are in compliance with the policy set by ordinance. So I think it's important to note that those pages are in there for your review, and that everything looks good from a compliance standpoint.
All right, Scott, I don't think,
Okay.
I don't think you have anything else, so I'm good with what we have. Anybody have any other questions?
I have one.
Go ahead, speak in the mic.
Just, I'm getting my feet wet here. Can you please tell me the statute number so I can read it for myself?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Can you please repeat the statute number so I can read it for myself?
Yes, absolutely. It is 218.415.
Thank you.
Florida State Statute 218.415. Yep. You're very welcome. And as I always say, if there are questions that come up after I drop off, please don't hesitate share them with Wendy and Donna, and they can get them to me, and I'll be glad to address anything that comes up after the fact.
All right, well, thank you, Scott, for
Okay.
your presentation.
Okay. You're very welcome. Thank you for your time. We appreciate your business.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Have a great evening.
Thank you. You as well. Bye now.
All right. Now we're going to head back to the top of the agenda. First, I hated to go through it so quickly, but just want to welcome our newest member. If
Thank
you
you.
want to tell us a little about yourself, for
Okay. My name is Dawn Streeter. I used to work for the city. I resigned in 2020 to go to law school. I'm officially graduated. I am going to take the bar in July. I work for Help Now of Osceola. I am all about victims' rights. And I am hoping to just learn more here as far as how our city is running. I actually wanted to come on the finance board years ago, and Captain Pearson told me, no, you can't, you work for the police department. And I said, okay, well, I'll wait. So just curious to see how things run, get my feet wet, and hopefully I'll have some positive input.
it's not many people are willing to step up, and so I really appreciate that because I think it's a great board. I've been on the board for quite a while, and it just gives us some insights. It helps us make, accountability, making sure everything is transparent, which it has been, and but it's really good. As you can see, we are very short on members, and hopefully you will last longer than the last member. I think she was only here for one meeting, and that was it.
Really?
Yep. So
Maybe she felt a little overwhelmed.
she might have been busy, I don't know, but she has resigned, so. But thank you for your introduction, and you're definitely welcome on this board. We want an extra set of eyes and a different perspective. And don't ever hesitate as we go on through this process of, I'll try to look each way to make sure if you have a question and I miss you, just go, yeah, I have one question, and just, I'd rather us ask than not.
Okay.
And just that statute, hey, gives you something to research, read into, and if I miss something or one of us missed something, just ask. And I look forward to hopefully many more meetings, and I don't know when your bar is, but we got a big budget meeting, so hopefully it won't interfere with
When is the meeting?
our budgets are, I think, we're gonna discuss it, but I think it's at mid or end of July.
July 24th and 25th.
Yep, it's in here, yeah, it's the very end of the month.
Is that on what day is that on?
Tuesday, Wednesday,
Okay.
counting on how well the city really does a good job with organizing, and Wendy, and then come in and they present their budgets. You'll usually have directors sitting on standby, and they rock and roll, boom, 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 boom.
Like, I could be here for the second day. The first day is my bar exam. So,
Completely. I don't know if we make it to the second day,
okay,
but I think you have a good excuse.
yeah.
So we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
For that. Got a lot of studying, I'm sure. All right, guys, let's get started. If you've had an opportunity to read over the minutes, if you need a second, we can do so, but it's from October 26th meeting, where we had a quorum. All right, if there is no question, the chair will take a motion.
A motion that the minutes be approved?
Got a recommendation for approval. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, I have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, additional changes, advertisement for finance vacancies. What's that?
Yes, Chairman, this topic was just to give you an update, obviously, of the current situation we have with the committee. There is advertisement, as it normally is done by the city clerk, to get some members, but as we find ourselves with barely a quorum right now, if you all have some suggestions, anybody out there that's interested, we really would like to keep a diversified panel that brings in different aspects. We don't want it too heavy on something and not have enough representation both for residents, Parks and Rec, public safety, any avenue, any expertise really helps us. So if you all have some, please feel free. You can contact me to let me know so we can have the city clerk, do its magic as we're looking for 2 more. So that was the only update. Just wanted to kind of tell you where we were. We've talked a little bit about if the difficulty continues, what the value of this committee really is, and do we have other items or areas that we may bring this committee to but we're not visiting that yet until, we give it its good share right now to see if we can find some more committee members for you all.
So based on this, then, seat 3 and 5 are vacant?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Something that we need to just keep in mind with her information she's provided, we might have to adjust if we can't get another member, we might have to adjust that day. If we're out far enough now, maybe with the 26th maybe being the start date, if that's possible.
Absolutely.
But again, if we get a quorum and we get more people to join, then we're good. But I just think we need to have that forethought. If we're not having it, we can't do anything without her. So I think
Sure.
just something to start thinking about moving forward.
Well, since we know it ahead, we'll note it for the record that we may look at other dates in the July timeframe, so that way we can coordinate with directors. The way we have the makeup of the budget now used to take much longer because every individual director would come up. Right now, we're going through it, and unless something is operationally specific, then, we're running through just the financials to get through everything and run it, and it seems to work very well, as we have averaged, midnights and 1 a.m.s here together, and since then, we have not been able to get home at least in time for some dinner. So we'll update that date. We can make it work, I think. One of the factors that leads that date is to make sure that we are balanced, reports are ready, and we have enough time as, eventually some of our spouses like us home too, but I think it should work no problem. So we'll get some good date suggestions, see if we can work it out, and let me confirm with director schedules and everything, and we should be okay.
Last year, it was originally scheduled that first week of July, and through our discussion,
Yes, sir.
proposed we move it to the end of July, which I thought worked out.
Yes, sir, it
Good,
did.
got it through in
You're
a
you're
date.
absolutely right.
Yeah.
It would probably stay towards the maybe end there, just
Yeah.
because 4th of July, we want, make sure everybody goes home for that and does that, and schedule. So no earlier than an 18th or something like that, but really, we're going to push it down. It gives us enough time, plus it stays fresh on the mind for the council workshops. We don't want to have too much space in between that. So we'll make it happen. No worries, since it's not
And
a.
even staying later, because again, she's gonna have some time that she needs to
Absolutely.
study. So I'd rather, if we can just stick with maybe the start date of 26, 27, maybe just
Yes, sir.
as a thought. And I think, if I'm correct, I can't remember, didn't we start a little earlier?
Yes, we did, as long as you were all okay with your schedule. We always coordinate with you, Chairman. And we can do that as early as your schedule allows. So you've never liked to use the second date anyway, and we have not needed to. We've been able to get it through. So we can put that out there and see, as well as if you give me some times, if, availability you may like.
I'll look, I think I have 4:10 schedules that week.
Okay.
I'll see, I'll have to find out. And
So I have noted July 26, 27, we'll look at that, and then also maybe an earlier start, you know, and give you some
Slightly, yeah.
suggestions, yeah?
Yep, slightly. Awesome. Very good. Previous business about departmental tours.
Yes, sir. We wanted to bring this up to you just because of what happened with members. We weren't able to schedule, and one of the values that you've mentioned, of course, is before those July workshops, that people get to see our facilities, what's going on, so that when they bring budget items, you have a personal relationship and a visual of what's going on out there. So if you'd still like that, we'd like to complete it before July, and we're trying to coordinate Parks and Rec, Fire, PD. Obviously, we have a new chief. That'd be great to kind of meet with him as well. He's got some great ideas, some thought processes, FD, just where we're at and what we're doing as we are endeavoring into Fire Station 35 being built, Fire Station then 32 eventually. So we're moving with that. A lot of ladder trucks that we are in progress and coming. So just to connect, you know, the numbers to the human aspect and the operation. So that would be up to you. You know, if there is some time allowed, most of the time we've done it after hours just because of work schedules. But if at least I get some idea, I can start again sending that out to the department head so we can coordinate. So, you know, they take you around, they pick you up, you know, and do the whole thing. So,
I definitely would like to. I'm almost, because I know he and I have done this. I'd like to give us a chance to hire somebody, and not hire some, to, if we can recruit people, then maybe that would be the opportunity, you know, we could meet for the first time hypothetically. I'm just thinking June-ish.
okay.
So then I wouldn't want to do this and then they come to their first meeting and have no idea what's going on. And their first meeting
Yeah,
is
I found the visits with the fire department very helpful as we met. And as we finished, we all started saying, man, I don't even know where some of these parks are, and where they're requesting roofs and all of this. So we had no idea really of the needs. And so I'm flexible. I can, anytime after 6 a.m., I'm ready to go.
Excellent.
But it was really, really helpful for me. to get a
I would
better
like
insight.
to, I think it's good. You've been in the city, so you have some familiarity with a lot of stuff, but when you see firsthand, we had a fairly new board a year ago, and so we did the tours, and it was really, I hadn't done any tours prior to that, but it's just nice to, hey, when they talk about needing a fire station, why do we need a new fire station? When you see that they're literally, I can hold hands with anybody on either side, and that's how they're sleeping. You kind of get a better understanding when they start making certain requests. And then, again, understanding Parks Rec.
Police and so
Yeah,
forth. would be-
it's just nice to see, because I know they were talking about a public safety when Chief Gauntlet was in there. And so it's just nice to see and get a better understanding. So I would like to see if we could do something in June-ish. It would be nice to have members instead of, you know, a repeat, and then just one member who's somewhat familiar with already the city. It'd be nice to, whoever the new people are, we all could go in and see it, so.
Okay.
I just play it by ear, I guess, and see what happens. Hopefully, maybe we can try to recruit people as well. If we recognize somebody that you think would be an asset to this committee, being brand new, again, to the committee, I just think it's a good insight to see what's really making up the city and how things are done, and Wendy's done an awesome job, and I just think it's a really beneficial committee, and when you're able to sit there and go, what about this, what about that, you do have some, you can send directions and recommendations to these other directors counting on the budget, and I just think it's a good committee to be on, and so if we can do some recruiting on our end, maybe you know somebody that is a good fit, knows finances. You don't have to be a finance guru, but I think if you have some knowledge, great, and if not, and you're just an eager person wanting to learn about the city, then we'll take that as well. So,
Along those lines, I guess the other thing I think would be helpful for me is to get an overview of this incredible growth that we are experiencing. I have no reason other than for a social to go down Kissimmee Park Road the other day, and I'm going, whoa, whoa. And I come by down the turnpike nearly every day in that big development out there, and Nolte, on and on and on. And I guess I would just like to get a little feel of comfort, how we are meeting the demands and the impact fees and more fire stations and police and the roads. That's where I am.
I think it's a great idea. I'd like to, maybe with, I don't know, I can't remember the planning director's name, but maybe a nice, if we can't go physically and start seeing some things, maybe a good visual of, this is what we're doing, this is the growth, this is the new subdivisions, this is slated to kick off in 23, 7,000 homes in this area, whatever, and this is our approach to that. Might be an idea as well.
It's a great time that you all bring that, because through the city manager's office and in coordination with planning, finance, HR, every department in the city, they're conducting what's going to be some classes where you would get these informations, an overview of how the finances are attached to the planning. It's coming up, to where you would get just classes on growth, what's paying for growth, how, and on the financial level, some light, how does that tie in, right? What do we use impact fees for? What are we allowed to, and how they connect? So I will get you more information on those, because they're developing it now. I believe it's called, I can't remember if it's not the Citizens Forum, but it was something else that covered just PIO, all the different departments as they, in their pieces and how they fit into this. The Planning Community Developments Director is Melissa Dunklin now.
Okay.
Yep.
There was
And
a gentleman there before him.
Mr. Andre Anderson, yes, sir. So it'll be something that, I can definitely get you information for that piece. As you know, we love scholars to the trade. We're always welcome to bring you into finance and walk you through some of the items too as well, that we can talk on that level, but it helps to be coordinated with the other teams so you can get all the pieces and what the JPA looks like and what are we annexing, what's coming. Because we use that information right now to establish, budget thresholds and revenue, what we expect to project through the DRC. We talk to developers, get an idea through building, everybody, we're all connected. So I'll get you more information on at least that synopsis for a class, and then we'll see where we can take it from there to give you all the pieces as much as we can. An item that is not there, but I think just because of the segue to this is something I'd like to note to this committee. We were informed for the fiscal year 2020-21, the GFOA, after it's been 22 years, we were just awarded the Budget Excellence Award from the GFOA. Has not happened in the city for 22 years. That's in conjunction with the financial reporting that we've received for over 34 years. So it's a tremendous accomplishment to the staff and what they do, and what we've worked through, the next couple of years to provide that transparency and clarity, so we're happy to be back, and GFOA is happy to have us. It was a little bit stressful, but, just thought I'd note it to you.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. Current business, we've had a resignation of a member from October. Just for your knowledge, I'll just review it. Member of the board, we technically only meet like 4 times a year. And the bylaws basically say if you miss 2 meetings in a physical year, you cannot be a voted member. And then you have to, I've had this happen twice. I think it's twice. And just say you miss a meeting. And then still in that physical year, another miss. So when we come to our quarter 2 or 3 and you can't vote, so then you're gonna come and go, hey, this is what happened. I missed meeting 1 because of a family emergency. I think if we're calling and we really have some insights, there's some give and take, but technically, if I'm correct, the bylaws were really strict. It kind of threw me for a loop when it first happened. And we had a member, it was 364 days she missed. Once the meeting was, we'll say, January 8th, the year next year it was January 7th, and she missed that date. So it was a physical twice in a year. So she had to come, and basically you come and you plead your case, if you wish to be on the board. And you go, hey, I was a member, or I had a family emergency, and then I was on I-4 and there was a crash, and we were stuck in traffic for 4 hours, and I couldn't make it. Then we, as a board, then go, okay, we heard her case, take a recommendation if we want to reappoint her or him, and then we vote. So we have that case here tonight. We have two members who, if I'm correct, unless things have changed, they were here probably our first meeting in January of last year, if I'm correct.
Yes, sir.
We did a tour, it might have been the year before, I can't, it's been a while, but we did our tours, and then, nothing. I don't think we had phone calls, I think we tried to reach out, emails, nothing. And so after 2 meetings, now it's probably 3, or this will probably be the third or fourth meeting they have missed. We have to, by the bylaws, we have to vote to, assuming, whoa.
And just for the
Don't
record, member Piscicario, she actually turned in and was in communication and did an official resignation, which, you know, we'll take. The other member's reason for the vote is because member Bush and Cook did not contact. We reached out through email, phone, and did not receive anything from the last time they ever attended. So that's why you need to take a vote on those. And the first one is just the acknowledgement of the resignation. And for member Piscicario, it was due to her work schedule. She ended up having more international commitments and she was out of the country.
Now, is that a required vote for her resignation if she just resigned, period?
No, sir. For that member, that's
Just
been
accept.
accepted. Yep, yes, sir. It's just a vote for the other 2 members to remove them.
Yes, so that's what this is about, so, we were supposed to have it, I think, in January, and, we didn't have a quorum. So, it is what it is. Chair will take a motion in reference to, how do we want to title it?
Dismissed or released, or,
Yes, yeah, it would be a vote to remove, I guess, those 2 committee members due to charter
Yes,
violation.
something to
or
that,
Yeah.
okay,
I would propose that these 2 members, Bush and McNamee Cook, be released from the committee based on the good faith efforts that have been forth to contact them, to invite them, to have them participate, and by their lack of response, have indicated that they no longer want to serve. So that would be my motion, to dismiss them from the committee, and let's put out a full-fledged effort to get 2 more, or 3 more, I guess, we need pretty soon.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
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 All right, it passes unanimously. Enough of the dirty business. Now we get to the fun stuff. Jeff's turn to,
That's exactly what I was going to say. This is the fun stuff.
here we go.
It's my fun stuff anyway. So for our new member, what we do at each quarterly meeting, we kind of review our progress to date. So this kind of says what's the purpose of the presentation, and it's for the second quarter of the fiscal year. So these are the top 10 revenues, and this is year-to-date figures. So this is through 50% of the year, so we would hope that we see 50% or more. So I will note the ones that are sort of out of bounds, if you will. So like ad valorem is high because, as you well know, you get a discount if you pay your taxes by November 30th. So most banks and individuals take advantage of that. So we get most of our ad valorem revenue in the early part of December. So that is why that one is so high. Impact fees, we've already collected 90% of our estimates. Growth, as was mentioned, is continuing to be high. And we also estimate revenue conservatively, generally speaking, because we don't want to overestimate. So, we keep it on the conservative side. So that's a factor as well. Most of the other ones are at or slightly above 50%. Now, the two that aren't are the county gas taxes and the public service utility taxes, and those are because they run about a month behind. So these figures are only through the month of February. So once March is included, then both of those will be, near the 50% mark. So overall, we're on track with our revenues in all funds. The major fund revenues, this is through 50% of the year again. You see the general fund has collected 58.3%. So that's generally because a good portion of the general fund is those ad valorem revenues that we collect early in the fiscal year. All the other funds are right where they should be. So that's good news. We did a pretty good job estimating. We're not far off on any of those. Any questions so far? And
Like the numbers, as long as we're in the general vicinity, we're doing pretty good, I feel.
And I'll give you my card after the meeting, so feel free to email me, and you probably have a ton of questions.
Oh,
so-
yes, I've been taking notes.
So feel free to, it's complicated, so been here for 2 years and still learns new stuff like every day.
Yeah,
So-
it's well, I used to run an apartment complex, so it's almost like a little city, so I have a general idea what you're talking about.
Then we flip over to major fund expenditures. So through 50% of the year, these are the percentages that we've spent. Now the actual figures I've included encumbrances. So even though that's not money out the door, it's money spent, sort of tied up, so to speak.
On the water fund, does that include the expense for all this icing and flushing and that's going on, or does that fall into another category?
Yes, sir, it does. And there's a project for that, but that is funded by the water fund, so that is part of that. The water fund is a little high because they contributed $1 million to project PW 2000, which is the downtown revitalization phase 2. And then also the first tranche of the American Rescue Plan Act funding, part of that we had initially placed in the water fund as they were considering potential refunds out of there. They chose not to do that, so that money got transferred back to the general fund, and that was $2.5 million. Then the building fund, that's due to the cost of the atrium, which is $3.8 million. We originally funded the atrium out of the capital projects fund, and the auditors advised us that it would be best to fund it directly out of the building fund, so that kind of accounts for that adjustment. And the sanitation fund, that's because they have a large encumbrance for their JED landfill fees. So they have the money encumbered for the whole fiscal year, and of course, they only spend it as they use it. This is just major funds, surplus and deficit, like through the first 6 months of the fiscal year. As I mentioned, the water fund, that's due to the project PW 2000, $1 million, and the money that was transferred from the water fund back to the general fund of $2.55 million. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in a deficit there. The sanitation fund, as you'll note, is in a little bit of a deficit. The challenge that they have is the rates are rather low. So they're having difficulty supporting their needs when it comes to major equipment replacement. A side loader truck replacement is now $380,000. And collecting $20, and I believe it's 38 cents per month per resident, presents its challenges.
Now, on the sanitation fund, with these trucks coming in from other areas, offloading their fund, we charge them. See the trucks from Kissimmee and everywhere else coming in, so
Yes, sir.
so much per load, and
Yep, they get, it's per ton, it's around $59, something like that per ton. So that is one of their larger
I
revenue
think that's one of
sources.
the areas I'd love to go see in terms of the operation of the sanitation and the water type thing would be put on our list of things to see and do.
Yes, sir, and also just some information for the sanitation fund. We have our consultant, Raf Tillis, right now, who has begun working on stormwater and rate fees to review where we should sit. You know, what we're trying to, I guess my concept of it is I don't focus on the paper clips. I focus on revenue cylinders being on at 100% first before we use words like cut and short, right? So we need to make sure all cylinders are on with revenue, and we've kept certain rates at a certain, for a certain amount of time, and we're trying to see what levels we are, because the enterprises, their whole mission is to just net zero, just to afford and be able to reinvest in their business, and that's their whole purpose, right, to run a service. So we're looking at that right now, sir.
Now, this is the general fund departmental expenditures through 50% of the year. So the last column is percent of budget used. So as you can see, overall, we've spent about 45% of our budget, which is good. I would personally shoot for 90% or more. I mean, if you budget for it, you should spend it. There's really not any out of bounds. As you'll note, City Council has only spent 9.5%, and that's because they have $2.2 million sitting in City Council contingency that, they only spend if there's some kind of emergency, and then we move it through a budget amendment to somewhere else. The legal services is at 66%, but most of theirs is a contract for our legal services, so that's included, and that's the entire fiscal year. Most of the rest of them are right about where they should be. As you'll note, some of them are low, such as planning and zoning, as well as parks and recreation. Planning and zoning is primarily due to being low on staff. So those salary and benefits for those vacant positions are not being paid out, and thus they have spent less of their money. And then Parks and Recreation, of course, is now just entering their busy time of year and, hiring the camp counselors and whatnot. So this would be natural for them to be a little low this time of year until they get into the summer months, and then they start being closer to fully staffed.
Excuse the interruption again, but
No problem.
with regard, say, police and fire, as you read in the paper, the governor is granting X percent or raise for all of the first responders. Does that money come from the government fund that they receive, or does you forced to give them raises, or you follow my question? I just, like I say, they periodically read, and he's going to give everyone 7% or 8% of this, and say, how does that?
Well,
fall back down?
how it's worked out for us at this point on the local level has been, there's been some first responder kind of ad pays that were given. There was $1,000 $1,000 tranche that was given straight from the state to the first responder. We had no obligation. So nothing has been, you know, if you want to call it forced upon, you know. So at this point, we haven't had to do anything. We are currently reviewing such that, you know, there was a salary study done that we're qualifying and seeing at this time, and we will see where we land overall for the city. But at this time, we haven't had anything that is forced or, you know,
Okay.
coming down other than the state doing its own. Or Fed, I think it was.
Thank you.
Any questions, any other questions on any of that? Okay, thank you.
Wow, you rocked through that pretty quickly.
Tightened it up, good.
It seems like we're doing well, so
Yeah.
for that aspect. Are we hearing Scott talking? Are we feeling good about the economy and how we're moving, how we're managing what we have? Or are we projecting, looking ahead, going, if this continues a trend of whatever from gas to other things, are we preparing for things like that?
Yes. So one of the things is, you know, accountants, as they say, if you've never heard why we're cool, calm, and collected, is because we have insane internal controls, right? So we don't go, sky is falling just yet. It's all about where we've been, which is sustainability and flexibility right now, right? So when you hear things like, oh my God, the price of lumber, raw pipe, you know, if we were to keep up it that way, we would never keep up. This is the giant, you know, waking up from its slumber of COVID, right? So projects are going to go up. We expect it. Is it going to stay at this height? Well, you know, I don't have a crystal ball, but finance and economics deems that where the housing market and interest rates go is where it starts. I think that as we look at it, we know what the Feds are doing and increasing. We hope that interest rates get one shot, one kill increase, and we're done with this versus the small incremental that makes it painful. We feel diversified in what we have right now to, again, long-term financial planning. So we're trying to stay, right now, we had discussions today about staying a little bit more liquid, right? We're making sure that we are streamlining, completing items in a timely manner and keeping that pace, because some of the inflation that you hear is national, not regional, right? So it could be 10%, 12% in New York, but here it really affects us based on municipality, we may be, you know, 8. You know, so we're trying to make sure we have a conservative, because we don't want you to receive a budget or look at a budget that increased by, you know, 47% because of the maybe. I think we feel confident that the city has never really been in a situation where they put themselves out there. We've been conservative in revenue and like to prepare for the worst and report the best. So I think that's where we're at, is just really maneuvering through this thing. We know it's going to turn somewhere. It's just how quickly and how not. Maybe a small, hopefully, recession. You see that. You see interest rates, and you know that. A lot of securities right now and what you should be investing in, right? You know, but I think, like I said, where we are portfolio-wise, you know, I feel we have a strong position. The operational part is making and having the city understand that we are only as big as the rev we have and can make, not dreams and hopes of revenue, right? So until it's in our pocket and in our coffers, we can't. So we are looking at everything to be sustainable. We don't want to give people raises that are so out of bounds because we want to be in line with Orlando. Well, we don't have Orlando revenue. And so then what's going to happen is we're going to do it for a year. Everybody's going to be fat and healthy, and then boom, we're not going to be able to afford it. So we're going to let everybody dream, and we're just going to tell them what we can afford and do what's right to provide the service levels that the city manager as well as the council needs. You know, there's certain things, you know, there's no way we cannot do that for the residents and provide the services we can. So everything is being aligned right now structurally. Everything is KPI driven. You know, what's the strategic plan? Is it aligned to the master plan of parks, police? You know, public safety, as you know, takes 64% of your budget. We are invested as best as we can right now. So right now we're trying to prioritize, not operationally, but financially, you know, and answering the priorities of the city. So there shouldn't be, you know, like I said, a crystal ball on how we're doing this. It's really just realigning this teenager, as I told you before, trying to make this teenager into a young adult that makes the right decision. So I think we're getting there. Everybody is working towards that goal. I think one of the things is growing up right now and assessing growth. Growth is a magic word, but it means nothing if we don't know what it does to us, how much paving we got to do, how much infrastructure, you know. Plus, we are also qualifying that we have the transition of environmental utilities currently in play right now. So that's not a negative hit to us. It's just something that's going on through the city, and that's a big undertaking as well. So position-wise, I think we're where we need to be right now. And we're only streamlining it to, like I said, be able to absorb in case something that we cannot foresee happens. But I think that's the beauty of math, right? 2 + 2 is 4 in any language in any country, and we'll be able to at least get close. We should be very close. Myself and the deputy are really trend-oriented, and we try to project further out. And so we're not looking for the now. We're looking for 5, 10, and even soft 20 years right now, where we need to be. So we'll see if we can land as right up to this point. We haven't been too far off. We gave you projections with COVID at, you know, we were projecting 25% loss, and I missed it by a quarter of a point. So, you know, we're assessing. We're taking more financial review on everything. You know, looking at actuals much quicker than just monthly. You know, we're you know, trying to align everything to make sure that we're defendable on everything we're doing. But I don't have nervousness. I mean, I think we're trying to control to make sure that we don't get too out of bounds, you know, and we're not. It's just, we just got to remember, because everybody gets very passionate about the commitments that a city has to do, but we can only do so much as we have in our wallets without putting us in danger. And reserves are a big thing. We have to be ready for not just economic downturn, but, you know, hurricanes, you know, something happening, we need to be ready. So that's what we're trying to do, is have the best projections for you all.
Quick little question. In my limited social circle, there's just a lot of kind of concern for all of this growth. Is the city council pushing growth, trying to control it or level it off, as we've got these, you know, these other big pieces of property that have been, and I'm just wondering where the impact is. Because some will say, well, we don't see any other supportive businesses, restaurants and this and that coming in. Mm-hmm. Where are we along those lines?
I will give you my humble observation. I think you're split in the council, where some people on the council like, you know, the small town living, right, and keeping those foundations and traditions, and that's enough. The financial reality of that is that infrastructure that's existing is not paying for the new that we need. It's all your new development. That's the economics of it. So I think they're trying to get a balance between both. How do you keep your foundations and tradition of the culture of St. Cloud, yet making sure that we bring the right growth and what that means, you know? And I think in combination with the city manager, I think, you know, every division, they're trying to now define that versus just saying growth. So I think there's value in both, you know? I think there's value in keeping that pristine, and you have that on council, and then there's people that are like, well, you know, it doesn't pay the bills, right? You know, we need houses right now at a, you know, value of a minimum of $279,000 to pay for new infrastructure. So when you have things like on the grid, you know, a house that was at $80,000 and sells to current market value, boom, it's contributing. But most of the grid really does not, because of where it was. So your new developments, Turtle Creek, all that Sunbridge you hear and everything that's coming up, you know, it's a little bit of survival of the fittest too. It's that Narcoossee corridor is becoming pivotal, right? You know, so I think there's still debate on that, you know, and I think both sides have a good argument as to why or why not. I think overall the city's consensus is to do the right thing for the residents, because if a development's already in build, we need roads so people can move and not have a 30-minute horrible commute as fast as we can too. And there's certain like roadways and things of that nature that are just beyond our control and are more county driven. So they're trying to network and make it move as quickly as they can and feasible for us too. You know, there's only, again, so much we can stretch.
Thank you.
So
I may have to find more, or a different social group to hang out with.
I'm sure your social group is just fine.
Don't put that in the minutes.
Thank you, Wendy.
Sure.
Let's see. I don't see it on here. I can't remember the finance conference.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That is normally on here, and usually I think we get the advertisement in January for whatever date it has been.
I'm going to double check for you because I cannot remember. They had the Orlando one here.
26th?
6, right? June 26th.
June 26th.
But I thought there was a change of it going virtual again, but I got to confirm. I thought we were set for June 26th here in Orlando. I can confirm those dates and probably send them off to you by email if, so you have them.
I just think, got some newer members, maybe they might want to attend.
Yep.
I thought it was a good conference.
Mm-hmm.
I've been here forever, and I finally went one year, and I was like, wow, should have gone more often. So,
I will confirm those dates with everybody and send them off to see anybody who'd like to.
and if you are interested, just say, hey, if you can work, I don't know about you with your future schedule, but especially that time period, but if you want to attend, just let her know.
Yeah.
And if they usually budget a couple spots for us,
Yes.
so I think we're good if that's something you guys are interested in.
Okay.
I would recommend it, especially if you're newer members. All right. Board members have any comments or concerns?
No, I would like to get a copy of the bylaws.
We can do that, no problem. Sure.
Yes, maybe we can adjust some of those. Because I was always just I get why they were kind of strict with these missing a meeting type of thing. It didn't even, if I'm correct, it didn't even allow for an excuse absence. It was
Yes, sir.
like, you miss, second meeting you missed, you're done. We would always vote the person back in if they legitimately had the ones that I was a part of, they, again, 364 days. But it was a business thing, so as long as you communicate, what we had to vote out was very simple. If either one of them came, I'd be kind of surprised, and if they did, they'd really have to explain how you missed 3 or 4 meetings and never answered an email or call.
Right.
So, and then that would be for the committee to vote if they stay. So, I'm good with that. I always want to offer comments from the audience, but there is none. So. Anything else for good of the order? Meeting adjourned.